Howdy, everyone. Tad Stevens on the Micro Success Secrets podcast, where we focus on business, psychology, and marketing, and how you can use that in your business daily and long term. Today, I'm talking with Kirsten Anderson. Kirsten, welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself, please.
Thanks for having me, and such wonderful pronunciation of Kirsten, which I always tell people rhymes with cheer, which is associated with me because that has definitely been a part of my career. My work in the toy industry is kind of where I got started. Just before that was movie theater management, but my mom had a toy store. So I ended up managing that, traveling around the world, finding like the best toys around the world. It was super fun, and then broke off and opened up my own store at about 29. And we were so lucky because we ended up marketing ourselves as toyologists. So we wore white lab coats and we did prescriptions for play, and we had prescription pads, and we would people would come in, and the reason why we did it is we wanted to emphasize, and this is applicable to any business, is listening to the customer, like that empathy. Like in a big box store, right, you go in, it's like, okay, good luck. Like what's the biggest
don't get lost.
Yeah, people are lost. Maybe their aunt or uncle. What do kids like at this age? I don't know. So we were really wanting to provide that extra intimate service where we could really find out the needs. And so we did these prescriptions for play, and this ended up getting national news coverage. And then we ended up getting a news segment once a month and once a week at Christmas for 12 years on global TV. So this really gave me my start being in front of the camera. And it's public speaking. And so people started asking me more and more to speak on play, because we ended up talking about play for all ages. And I was seeing that kids were not playing as much as they used to. What if we could get adults playing more? And then we got that trickle down effect to teenagers and middle schoolers and then elementary school teachers. So that was really the driving force behind selling my business about 5 years ago, to go and spread play at work. And so now that's what I do. Is I'm a keynote speaker around the world around the value, the bottom line benefits of play at work, especially lately around change and resilience. And connection and belonging is a huge one. And then creativity and innovation as well. So yeah, quite a pivot, quite a change from where I started.
No, super. And I got to say, I just noticed the Lego heads behind you.
Yeah.
I've been staring at them for a while, and I just noticed them, and I thought, that is cool. Because when my kids were younger, in fact, they're 19 and 20 now, and we still have Legos around the house.
It's all ages.
Anyway, wonderful. Okay, so let's roll into the first question.
Yeah.
And I mean, with your experience, I love asking you this question, or I'm going to, I think, is if you could go back in time and you could change one business or life decision, whatever it was, first off, would you change it? And if you would change it, what would you change it to?
It's an interesting question. You know, as someone who is known for being ultra positive and optimistic, you kind of try and live with a no regrets policy that, like the path you chose was meant to be, and all the mistakes and failures along the way were in service of your own personal growth. And you don't know where you would have ended up if you'd taken a different path.
Right.
However, not having finished university, sometimes I feel like I would have loved to have had a psychology degree. It's interesting because your podcast defines marketing and psychology and business, which are three of my huge passions. My dad is a psychologist. My mom was a business owner. I feel like I've blended the two with my business, like facilitating, helping business owners increase their profits and their relationships with their customers and their employees. So it would love to have had a maybe psychology degree. But I've certainly self-studied.
And likewise myself. I mean, psychology and marketing, really psychology is a passion of mine. I mean, I just love reading books about it and different approaches and it's not clinical in the sense, but it's more related to marketing, but I love it.
And human behavior, right? They're so interrelated. So the marketing and the psychology.
Oh, they are totally. So kind of related to that, if you could go back in time again and there's one business or life decision or two that you made that turned out super positive. I mean, it was, just a dividing line. You think and you look back and you think of everything before it happened and everything after it happened. Do you have one of those, excuse me, that you could share?
Yeah, actually go back quite a long ways to that pivotal time when you're in high school and everyone's asking you, like, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? And all I could think about, I was obsessed, absolutely obsessed with going to Europe. And I had posters all over my room, London, Paris, Madrid. And I dreamed about it so much that I ended up taking night school courses so that I could graduate from high school early, 6 months early, just so I could get to Europe faster. And I worked 3 jobs in the summer to earn enough money to go to Europe. So I got on a plane with a backpack and I traveled for 8 months, going to youth hostels, no credit card, no cell phone, no internet. My mom had no idea what country I was in, right? Like, so different from today where we're so ultra communicating. She would get a postcard every few weeks, kind of like, oh, and these are the 5 countries I was in last month. And did that for 8 months and had so many misadventures. And the reason why I say that it had a massive impact on my life was because it was that risk. Taking all those risks, having those misadventures gave me the confidence to know that we can figure it out. Everything's figure outable, as Marie Forleo would say. We can get through this. We can do hard things, and that's been a huge help being an entrepreneur, because it's a freaking roller coaster being an entrepreneur, being self-employed. Yeah. So you need to have that confidence and go back to those situations where you didn't know what you were doing and things weren't necessarily perfect and it still worked out. And sometimes the misadventures are the best stories anyways.
Absolutely. I want to share a quick story related to that. Is a marketer that I used to follow, used to be in one of his groups, lives in, last I heard he was living in Spain. And he had a theory that you should go and spend time, more than a day or two, in a country, in a society where you don't speak the primary language. He said that will change your perspective on everything. And I have told that to my kids over and over again. And we are actually planning a trip, hopefully an extended stay in one of the countries in Europe, because they're starting to open up to it. And I think, like you said, I mean, it was that pivotal point that you just mentioned. And I think it very well could be for them as well. And me too. I can have another one. So that is an outstanding answer. I love that answer. And this is kind of related to that. That's a big decision. I mean, you worked 3 jobs, you graduated early from high school so you could do this. You stayed over there for 8 months. So, and I'm sure there were decisions along the way. Do you have a way that you approach decisions like that, big or small, that keep you from getting stuck, that keep you moving forward, that keep you moving through the decision? Do you have anything like that you'd share?
Well, it's interesting because I think when I'm stuck to make a decision, I try and really bring in the playful mindset. So this, having had parents that really prioritized play, really saw the value in it, then being in the toy industry for so long and seeing the value of play for all ages. When I'm stuck, I think about, like, how would a kid do this? Like they're not stuck on perfection. When you think about when you were doing a doodle as a kid, you don't, and you drew a sun and it looks like a box or something like that, or a flower and it looks like a person, and you show your parent, and your parent isn't going to say to you, well, that doesn't look like a sun. They're going to say, wow, that's amazing. And so that quest for perfection is so often, I find, what keeps us stuck. And, so that's what I try and do, is I play with possibilities. I'm open to possibilities and just try and have that wonder and curiosity about what's possible. And that kind of opens me up to new decisions and taking chances.
That is one of the best, if not the best, answer to that question. And I've had over 60 answers to that question at this point. So I love that answer because I also believe that play is super important. And it's super important even after you grow up, so to speak. Else we get stuck. I mean, I can remember being in corporate America for decades, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I was stuck. It took me a while to figure that out. Love that answer. So knowing what you know now, if something came along that totally disrupted your business, your life, like maybe
Like a pandemic.
yeah, something like that, or you moved to another country. Say you moved to a country where you didn't
Yeah.
speak the primary language, Europe, whatever, but something happened and it disrupts what you're doing now, and you have to start over. Would you go back and do the same thing you're doing now, or do you think you'd end up where you are now, or would you try something different?
It's funny because when I first thought, like, if you could go back in time now, my first thought was I would have invested in Zoom when 4 years ago.
Yes, well, that okay, I would have too. I agree.
Oh, I kind of go back to the no regrets piece. However, if I knew now what I know, if I knew then what I know now, I would say perhaps before I sold this toy store, like, I'm glad about the timing about when I sold it. And it was so fast. Like, I sold it like within like 3 weeks of kind of having the idea of potentially selling.
Wow, that is fast.
Yeah, it was super fast. And I'd had it for 15 years. So it was like letting go of it, my teenage baby, that I had raised, and it's doing fabulous and growing. And, but perhaps I would have had this business that I have now as a bit of a side hustle along the way. I would have focused on doing what I'm doing, the speaking and building the online business and the online facilitation, and doing those workshops while I was running the business. And I kind of delegated a little bit more of what I was doing in the store. But, I loved that, and I love this. And so no regrets, but there's something to be said for side hustles while you're in a secure job, and there's a little bit less risk when you jump in the deep water of the pool, so to speak.
Yep, totally understand that. Kirsten, thank you very much. Really appreciate your sharing. Great answers. Time to wrap up, but wanted to see if there's anything that you'd like to close with, and anything that you have to offer that might be valuable to the listeners and viewers.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I was thinking perhaps Lego Serious Play was thus the Lego heads behind me. Lego Serious Play is what we were doing about 80% of the time, 20% keynotes. And now it's kind of flipped, that I'm doing more Zoom online speaking, obviously, with the pandemic and online sessions. So it is actually possible to do Lego. We just did it for 65 people leaders the other day for teams, usually working with teams. But if someone wanted to do a one-to-one Lego coaching session, I will do 10 free 15-minute. This is just for you. I'm offering this. So they can just email me, and I will do 10, 15-minute free Lego coaching sessions one-to-one.
Okay. And I will make sure that is in the show notes, because that is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. Again,
gotta bring their own Lego, though.
Got to bring your Lego.
Okay.
Lego. Well, we'd be able to do that. I mean, literally, we have boxes of this stuff still, and canisters and everything else. But anyway, thanks again. Really appreciate your time. Great podcast. Thank you. Thank everybody for listening. Have a safe and productive week, and be the very, very best at whatever you are doing. Until next time, this is Tad Stevens with Micro Success Secrets. Bye for now.
Thank you.